Hello, everyone. This is another short webinar for health technology startups. It kind of continues the series of webinars that I started back when I was at the European Innovation Council. My goal is now, as it used to be when I was at the EAC, to share bits of information that I hope are useful for health innovators. And today I have the pleasure to have with me Pernilla Isberg. She's the director of AstraZeneca BioventureHub. This is a program that allows health companies to physically relocate to AstraZeneca premises in Gothenburg. Share your physical offices and lab space with AstraZeneca staff. You then interact daily with AstraZeneca as a potential partner or even a customer. So it's a very interesting model to achieve growth. Pernilla, thank you so much for finding time to tell us about your work and your creation, the AstraZeneca BioventureHub in Gothenburg. Floor is yours, Pernilla. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Enrique, and I'm so happy to be here because we're also in the BioventureHub. It's an exciting journey. We are actually in opportunity space for including more companies in this collaboration space. So I'm happy to share both the history why we're here, but also how it works and what kind of offer you provide with. So I planned a couple of slides. We share with you sort of the introduction, and then we jointly see, Enrique, if there are some remaining questions that we should clarify.
Great.
Sounds good? Good. So I just start to share then some slides. So
yeah.
So let's say you start by introducing myself. My name is Pernilla, and I'm a pharmacist by training. I've been working sort of my whole life with AstraZeneca, and of course, I started in my career at not in the BioventureHub since it's only been here 10 years, but I started as marketing and sales, and then I continued with the clinical trials and product management at the R&D side. So it's been a fantastic journey to get to know the company from different angles, what I really can utilize here in my role at the BioventureHub. But before we jump into how we operate, I would like to share some background about AstraZeneca. So it's a global pharmaceutical company, and our aim, our goal is really to develop medicine for patients in the field of oncology, cardiovascular and renal and metabolic disorders, also in respiratory, immunology, and vaccines and rare diseases. So quite broad spectrum, and we're operating globally. So we're operating globally, and we have 5 strategic R&D sites, 2 in US, 1 in UK, Cambridge, and 1 in China, Shanghai. And then the 5th is in Gothenburg, West Coast, Sweden. And we've been here at this R&D side really for about more than 50 years, and strong legacy and experience in developed medicines. And it is on that R&D side we have the BioventureHub. And the reason really why we started the BioventureHub is, as in many industry, the world around us is changing. And for us, the medicine itself would probably not only be the sort of product for the patient, it would be much more integrated health solution, both because of the requirement outside, government, the payer, the patient, but also depending on the push of technology investment. So both when it comes to the product versus the patient, but also in the way we innovate and work in the labs, things have changed. And we need to collaborate different, and we need to innovate different, since we are depending on sort of complementary value chains and complementary technologies than ourselves. So the idea with that as a backdrop, it started about 10 years ago. So the founder of the BioventureHub, Magnus Björsneid, at the time working at business development, which is the unit where we sort of works to search for gaps in our portfolios, to see how we can collaborate and sometimes acquire. But in terms of business driver, he also felt that sometimes we say no to so many interesting things because they might be too early, to be risky to work and collaborate with, and sometimes outside the scope we're looking for. So his novel, or his idea, was really to ask and see, can we utilize the infrastructure that we have at the site and co-locate external companies inside our R&D sites, since at the time we also had free offices and lab spaces. And he worked together with the site and come up with a solution that we actually found a way to work with our public funding, the innovation agency in Sweden called Vinnova, and a local regional public funding agency, sort of VGR, helped us to support this initiative. And with that as a fundamental, we also can work and see this as a pilot project where the aim was really to help support the growth of life science companies. We know we had a lot of startups. The scale up is super challenging in this our field in terms of value of death challenges, and we felt that we can come as a sort of next step where we can infuse the system with knowledge of sort of industry competence, and also we can utilize already existing infrastructure. So with that, we started the BioventureHub 10 years ago. We ensured as a team that is sort of, we was focused on the next step phase, the scale up, and it was about complementary, and it was not to bring in sort of competitive actors, more like have a really trust as a umbrella, as a culture where we dare to share knowledge and not secret. It's really as a sharing community with sort of synergy between the companies, both with AstraZeneca, but also with the companies between the hub that we co-locate. So sharing economy applied for life sciences is really the principle of what we started to do. And the services, 10 years later, we have always tried to maximize and see how we can create more value for the companies being here. So I think the uniqueness of the hub is really the two first circle here is the unique, the sort of location that you actually establish your operation in the heart of an R&D site. Here, AstraZeneca here in Gothenburg. You have the same access to the site as we as employees. We do, of course, ensure as a team that we follow the processes, the guidance, the ethics of AstraZeneca, since the company working under AstraZeneca's environmental permit is super important. But that also enable the companies to get access to our colleagues that we of course guide in terms of scientific expertise guidance. So we matchmake the companies with people who know and have expertise in areas of value for the companies. Collaboration, where we see a win-win from both sides, we try to foster and support opportunities to matchmake also the companies with opportunities out there in our organization. And even though we haven't scouted, actively for only AstraZeneca, value for AstraZeneca based on this governmental funding, we do see about 97 legal agreement, 41 joint publications with AstraZeneca during the past 10 years. So something happened when you sit in close and really get to know each other. Also, we are open to share data, and data is when we can, when it's possible. And when we see a win-win, we also see that as a really opportunity to share data, for example, train your algorithm and things. So we try to push and see where it's possible to share as much as we can, and we take it case by case. And finally, we also foster a community within the BioventureHub. Between the today 27 companies, we do have seminar networks, partnership program where we also have a medtech company, Mölnlycke and IBM as a partner where they can support with knowledge. We work a lot with sustainability initiatives, such as My Green Lab, for example, to foster and train companies to build in sustainable activities in their way of working. So it's about also getting the companies to help each other to grow, because it's really the next step in the journey of developing a company. So this slide is just showcasing, again, to remind that it's not a business development unit. The BioventureHub is really about exploration and see opportunities and get to know each other and see then if it's later on it's an opportunity for collaboration, a formal collaboration. So it's really about this trust and awareness, and then we, in many cases, can start and help out the companies from an AZ point of view earlier than normal, if it's sort of a true win-win. And also we see between the companies, about a third of the companies collaborate to date with each other, and a third of the company collaborate today with AstraZeneca. So it's about this kind of validation and exploration. And KPI is always hard in this kind of world to see, what do we achieve? What's the hard endpoints and how do you measure that? But given the public funding we have as a goal to help support the growth of companies and also to support the ecosystem and attract talent. So the last section on this page is showcase an example from last year, and we do a survey every year, and this showcase that the companies in the hub last year actually recruited about 100 people, and it's also showcasing that 33 new patent and 3 clinical trials and 23 peer-reviewed articles were issued by the companies. So it's really productive, as we can see. Can't measure what would have happened without the BioventureHub, but we see a high level of activities. Yeah, I think that's, and for AstraZeneca point of view, I think it's also about a journey of culture, a journey of having be inclusive and really integrate entrepreneurship. We learn as well personal development by meeting smaller or younger company and their way of solving problems. So I think we have gained a lot in addition to the signed agreement we showcase here. And the type of companies we have here, yeah, we focus on the scale-up companies. And the 2 first company here just showcase typical companies coming from an incubator, actually here in Gothenburg. Chalmers is a local technical university. And these 2 have technical platforms where they actually today collaborate with AstraZeneca to ensure they get to know sort of a future customer, and they can sit close and work closely. And they also, in a few cases here, they have public funding to support the joint collaboration. Thirdly, we have also on this slide an academic collaboration. We have actually 3 academic units in the hub. It just exemplify that the BioventureHub is a new way of how you can collaborate with others. So in this case, this academic unit have a very sophisticated instrument or where we actually can measure the drug concentration in the cell. And of course, when you have that equipment, AstraZeneca are keen, and we can learn, and also by tapping into that infrastructure and instrument. And Waters, finally, it's not a scale-up company. It's a service provider, what we call a venture client model here. It's a service provider who actually have co-located a couple of people here and a hub where they work side by side with AstraZeneca to continue to work and develop their workflow. So that's another way how we can utilize this platform. So going forward, just to summarize a little bit, we are in 10 years later, we have reached the goal or the journey of how many years you can utilize public funding from public. You can maximum have that 10 years because of the aid rules in Sweden. So we have decided, or Astra has greatly decided, that they will continue to support the BioventureHub. And with that, we will have the same philosophy, the same support. And as before, we have totally no strings attached to the companies. They work side by side and no strings attached to us. So the only thing we will ensure is really that the next coming companies to the BioventureHub have something of joint interest. So we will ensure that sort of curiosity, some kind of openness for collaboration within our function. So it's really, it might be too early as before, but it's most about the curiosity and its sort of views on a true win-win. So the fields, what we very high level think that it could be of great joint value is pharma, when we look at more sort of sophisticated, more new type of pharma, sort of target delivery technologies. Of course, data and AI is something, of course, with value for the whole value chain. Deep tech and sustain tech, how we can work more greener in the labs, but also going forward also in the productions. So many interesting area to get to know more people or know new companies. Before I end, I also would like to highlight that Gothenburg, I don't know how many are familiar to Gothenburg, but it's a vibrant city for innovation in general, but life sciences is really growing here. And this slide is showing that on the top part of this slide, you see the R&D side of AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca sold the piece of land south of the site 7 years back. And now we have a life science cluster really growing called GoCo Health Innovation City. AstraZeneca has no right. We are just a neighbor as other partner, sort of other neighbors to this cluster, where we try to help support that we have sort of a really vibrant place for life science and health. So today we have GoCo House, where, for example, last year, the largest 5 companies in the BioventureHub moved there. And they continue to grow, sort of more mature phase of the company growth. And they continue there, and we're still in the same ecosystem. We have Mölnlycke, who will move early next year there with their headquarters. We have Furia Bio, a diagnostic company. We also have other clinical companies there, but we also have clinics, elderly care, and it will be apartments, so more like a city center, and it's continued to grow. And you see the next development phase would be much more CCRM. It's about cell therapy, and we have lab buildings, and yeah, it's really an interesting city center, and it's really growing and really a good place to grow your life science company. So with that, I would like to end and thank you for listening. And it's showing here some interaction point. We have a homepage, LinkedIn, and you're super welcome to come back to me or my team. We're working, a small team working with the BioventureHub to see if there are an opportunity for you to connect to us in the BioventureHub. So with that, I thank you, and I go back to you, Enrique, to see if there are some questions.
Thanks so much, Pernilla. Such a clear representation and such an interesting program. I guess part of the audience will have practical questions in mind. So if there is a company with an idea and they are making progress, I think your focus, you mentioned, is more on the scale-up phase. So probably technology is already there, and you need to find the product market fit and find collaborations with pharma. What's a practical way to get in touch and start the ball rolling? And also in terms of costs for this company, how does that work? The practical questions always come to mind. No?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same. So, I mean, it's always, people, we have on the web page, we have an application form or an interest form, because it's always about, seeing the true win-win on both sides going. So it's really applicable for the company in their journey. So in terms of matureness, we see that it's important to have IP in place and finance in place, so they can, take to the next inflection point their technology or their product. But it's also about paying the rent, of course. And the rent, I mean, the agreement we have with the company is a standard lease agreement with some exception that we talk about ethics, right of possession, and how to handling confidentiality, because it's about an open, we don't share secrets, we share knowledge. So it's about be aware also how you interact in this kind of environment. But it's a lease agreement, and the sort of market-based rents, which will differ a little bit if it's lab space you rent or if it's office space office-based. So that's really how it works. So that's about the practical thing. So it's always, good with a practical interaction. We have this application form, send us a pitch deck. And what we normally do is to see first, is this, scrutinize if it's real relevance. It's a sort of some interest area here that of us AZ, because in many angles, it could be actually not an here and now problem. It could be sort of next more exploration. So that's why we rarely say no so early, because we really would like to tap in and hear what our researcher and collaborators, colleagues say. And thereafter, we normally have a sort of interaction with a reference team. And from there, we interact with the company and see how it's the next step, if it's come and look at the facilities. And maybe something that I should highlight is the proximity. We do believe, and here comes a say we like to highlight, that we believe that innovation is a contact sport. That by meeting each other, to see each other, we see something happen. But if you are a company from abroad, we have companies been here from US, Netherlands, Switzerland, and UK and Norway. And what they normally do is they have their home office, the headquarters somewhere else, but they bring sort of established then a Swedish entity where they maybe can establish a few colleagues to start with, maybe 1 or 2, and then they can see if it's really based on sort of that type of collaboration they see sort of a win-win with. And based on that, they establish, and they, of course, doesn't have to be here every day, but I mean, from time to time to see this as a community as well is important for us. But I don't want to stress that you need to be here sort of every day, but it's also about building the most value for the time period that is relevant for the growth of the company.
Super interesting program, Pernilla. Thanks so much for the presentation, for
Thank
your
you.
time, for answering these practical questions. And let's stay in contact. And I hope the audience enjoys the content. I think it's really, really useful. Thanks for your time again, Pernilla. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.